If you're studying for a big test like year ends or boards, you'll probably want to be familiar with the three irregular pulse images, which are daimai, the intermittent pulse, jiemai, the bound or knotted pulse, and tsumai, the skipping, abrupt, or hurried pulse. And so the differences between these is, with daimai, the intermittent pulse, the pulse skips beats at regular intervals. So we call this regularly irregular or regularly interrupted. This is also a relatively weak or relaxed pulse. The other two, the bound pulse and skipping pulse, skip beats at irregular intervals, so they are irregularly irregular or irregularly interrupted. Additionally, jiemai is a slow or relaxed pulse, whereas tsumai is a rapid pulse. And I think what's also important to point out here is that the choppy pulse, sumai, is not an irregular pulse. So we can call this the choppy, rough, or hesitant pulse. And even though it's an unsmooth or hesitant pulse, it's technically not classified as an interrupted pulse. Bob Flaws addresses this directly when he writes, although it is not classified as an interrupted or skipped beat pulse, there is a variability to its rate and rhythm. The pulse seems to slow down and then speed up, and not every beat hits one's fingertips with the same force. So a choppy pulse may vary in rate and strength, but it doesn't actually skip a beat. So what could cause the pulse to skip beats? Well, there are actually three causes. One cause is heat or fire. If yang is too exuberant, the yin can't control it. So it's like the yang is running away from the yin, or the qi is skipping ahead of the blood, and that creates an irregular pulse. Stagnation, blockage, or obstruction can cause the pulse to become irregular. This could be qi stagnation, blood stasis, phlegm obstruction, food stagnation, or cold congealing. Any of these blockages can interrupt the pulse and cause the pulse to skip a beat and feel irregular. Or there could be qi deficiency. It's like there's not enough qi to push the blood through the vessel, so it has to stop and take a break. Flaws uses the analogy that the regularly interrupted pulse is like an elderly person who takes a few steps and then must rest before taking a few steps more. So of our three pulses, the daimai, or regularly interrupted pulse, is usually due to deficiency. The pulse has to stop and take a rest at regular intervals. Jiemai, the bound or knotted pulse, is usually due to obstruction. If it's bound and forceful, this could be qi stagnation, blood stasis, or some other simple obstruction. If it's bound and slow, this could indicate yang deficiency. So here, yang deficiency causes cold, cold causes things to congeal, and this obstructs the flow and gives us an irregular pulse. And tsumai, the skipping, abrupt, or hurried pulse, is a rapid pulse. So that means there's heat. So this could be a case of extreme heat or fire where yang is running away from the yin, or there could be some kind of obstruction, qi, blood, phlegm, food, and that stagnation is turning into heat, making the pulse feel rapid. So I'll put a summary up here, and you can pause the video and take a screenshot if you want to save it for later. So in clinic, when you're evaluating the pulse in terms of rate, depth, strength, and quality, you can start by counting the beats and determining whether the pulse is rapid or slow. But while you're counting, you can also check to see if the pulse is skipping beats. If it skips beats at regular intervals, like every fifth beat there's a long pause, that would be an intermittent pulse, or daimai. If the pulse skips beats at irregular intervals, but it's also slow and relaxed, that would be jiemai, the bound or knotted pulse. If the pulse skips beats at irregular intervals and is rapid, that's tsumai, the skipping, abrupt, or hurried pulse. And if you're studying herbal formulas, it turns out there is one formula we learned that is specifically for an irregular pulse, and that is Tong, prepared licorice decoction from the category formulas that tonify the qi and blood. This is a formula for palpitations, possibly with anxiety, insomnia, or irritability, and an irregular pulse. Zhigansao is from the tonified qi category, and remember, this is one of the only herbs from that category that enters the heart channel. Guizhi is cinnamon twig, and one of its actions is that it warms and unblocks the chest for things like palpitations. And then we have a bunch of other herbs that tonify qi, blood, and yin. But because this is a tonifying formula, it should only be used for an irregular pulse due to deficiency. So Bensky says that this is for a consistently irregular or slow irregular pulse. And here he means daimai, the intermittent pulse, or jiemai, the bound or knotted pulse. This formula would not be appropriate for tsumai because that's a rapid pulse due to heat, or even for a pulse that's bound and forceful because that's indicating obstruction rather than deficiency. If you're studying herbal formulas, I have a paid course that reviews all 162 formulas on the NCCAOM list. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Otherwise, you can check out some of these other videos.